All right, we're live. Lee, say hello.
What's up, guys? How you doing, Alex? Good to see you.
Good to see you, man. Hello, everybody. I am excited for this one. My name is Alex Vidal. I'm Regional Vice President for Coldwell Banker in Dallas-Fort Worth. And today, to my left, I almost said right, to my left, we are sitting with the number one agent, not in Dallas, not in Fort Worth, but for all of Texas for Coldwell Banker, Lee Lamont. Lee, thanks for coming on, man.
You're so welcome. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining. I know you're very busy.
Yes, sir.
I don't think we've ever had somebody with his accent on the show. Episode 110 of the Closer Club. So you thought you were nervous.
Now I'm good.
And I'm the nervous one. All right, guys, we got 10 action-packed minutes for you. Very interesting interview. I think you guys are going to find this one. So, Lee, let's get started. Number one single agent, and we're going to talk about that, in the entire state of Texas, 3 years in a row for Coldwell Banker. Well over $40 million a year in sales every year. Tell us a little bit about your path to becoming number one.
Sure. Well, a couple of things. So, gosh, I've been in real estate for 17 years right now.
Okay.
So, never was number one to begin with, of course, but my background is a sales background. I used to work for a company, a distribution sales company in the UK, back in England. They had offices in Australia. I was fortunate to travel there, Canada as well. And then after some time with them, they asked me to come to their head office here in Dallas. So it's a $2 billion company. I was with them, I think, 6 months in the Dallas office.
Okay.
And they went bankrupt, filed Chapter 11, mini little Enron, some accounting, inaccuracy, shall we say. But here I was as an immigrant in America. My visa was attached to the company. I was engaged to be married, and the company went bankrupt. So I lost my job and was living on my savings for quite some time. I just bought a house, so the bills began to, rack up a little bit. But fortunately, my wife, my fiance at the time, she was a school teacher.
Sure.
So we lived off of my savings and her small school teacher salary to get us through a period of which ended up being about 18 months. If you go through the immigration process legally, sure. I mean, honestly, I have a lot of sympathy because you got to have some savings to get through.
Where are you from, Lee?
I'm from England, a city called Leeds in England. Father's Jamaican, mother's English, but born and raised in England. But nevertheless, while I was here in the United States, while I couldn't work, I figured I've got to do something. So I ended up getting my real estate license. And the truth is, once I got my license, and that 18 months later, we were kind of down to our last $10,000. It was pretty nerve-wracking.
Sure.
So after some typical traditional advertising didn't quite work as well as I would have thought, I decided I was going to go all in on a radio campaign. And of my last $10,000, I spent $9,000 on a radio campaign.
And?
It absolutely bombed. It was just unbelievably terrible.
Okay.
So here I am. My fiance is now my wife. She's pregnant.
Yeah.
We've got no money left, and literally backed into a corner about, okay, what do we got to do?
Sure.
So, you'd be surprised what you can accomplish if you put your mind to it. So, literally started knocking on doors. I've got my real estate license, and I figured, will not be defeated. I'm going to use this accent a little bit here in Texas to the best of my ability.
Absolutely.
And sure enough, I ended up knocking on doors. So 6 months later of knocking on doors in my community, in my neighborhood, I was fortunate enough to have a small book of business and hooked up 2 local builders, one of which I still work with today.
Amazing. And you know what I love about door knocking is it worked 17 years ago. It worked actually coincidentally 17 years ago for me because I was 25 when I went door knocking. It still works today.
It does.
And another great agent in this office, Josh Winkler, and I have agreed to go door knocking together next week. That's how much I believe in it.
Do it.
I'm going to skip ahead because I had a couple questions before this. So what did you do? Did you do anything else in addition to door knocking to become number one? And what are you doing now to remain number one? Because that's a whole different animal, right?
It really, really is. But I mean, there's a few things that I've learned along the way in different aspects of life. But ultimately, the one thing that I knew I could control was my work ethic. So my success is purely built out of being able to outwork the competition. I mean, I was an immigrant. I didn't know anybody. My sphere of influence was practically zero.
Yeah.
But it's the idea that you can actually get up, make phone calls, have a routine. You're not going to go to bed until you've made those 50 calls that day, or you've knocked on those 50 doors that day.
That's right.
And then you follow up, and that leads into, you know, other things, which is, I guess you could call it a system. Whilst it's not on paper, it was just a way that I was trained and coached from previous aspects of life, of just repetition, and you'll get success.
There you go. So repetitive action of phone calls every day, knocking on doors every day.
Sure.
And now, so that got you there. So now you're 3 years in a row.
Sure.
What are you doing now to maintain that position?
So it's interesting because as the landscape changes with technology,
Sure.
with client acquisition, prospecting, and so forth, there does come a time where an individual's priorities change too, and mine certainly have. So my goals aren't necessarily to maintain a number one position, although in 2020 I could do $50 million on my own with an amazing assistant, which, by the way, after about 15, 20 million, you need an assistant, period. But I'll tell you that it's not about that now. Now it's about taking care of my clients, taking care of my family, taking care of my community. That may or may not maintain my position as the number one real estate agent in the state of Texas. But ultimately, without the family, without the clients, without the community, it doesn't matter anyway. So you've got to take care of that.
Simple philosophy. Raving fans. You have a lot of raving fans. Make sure your clients remain your raving
Sure.
fans. And there you go. But to get the raving fans, you put in a ton
Sure.
of work. Now, I think part of your work comes from being a professional athlete. Now, you have something there.
Sure.
Which is, share with them what your
a couple of things.
Says.
So this is just a EFL Championship champions mask. So this is Leeds United, which is a massive soccer club back in England. When I was a young kid, schoolboy, I was fortunate enough to be on their books for a few years as a kid, and of course it's your hometown team, you want to play for them. Didn't work out for them at the professional level, but what I did do, I was transferred to Doncaster Rovers, where I played in the FA Youth Cup final against Arsenal at the old Highbury ground. But yeah, if you know Leeds United, it's Leeds as they got promoted back to the Premier League this year. But I signed a pro contract with Doncaster Rovers, and then certainly it didn't work out then. Of course, as a young kid, it's everyone's aspiration.
Yeah.
20 million kids want to be a professional soccer player. I was lucky at 17 to sign a contract. Didn't work out. By the time I'm 20 years old, unfortunately, you kind of drop down the leagues, and before you know it, it's tough to come back from that.
You know, it's funny, nothing's changed. Back then it was Leeds, L-E-E-D-S. Now it's L-E-A-D-S. It's still Leeds.
That's funny you say that. It is. That's exactly right.
So
exactly
what I love about talking to professional athletes or former professional athletes, first question is, what position did you play?
Goalkeeper.
By far the highest pressure position on the field. I know this because all my kids play competitive travel soccer.
For sure.
So how did you handle that high pressure, and what did you learn from handling that high pressure that you're applying to your business now?
So really, it comes down to believing in yourself, believing in your teammates. In the real estate industry, your teammates are literally your other colleagues in the industry, good ones. It's my assistants. But certainly just the idea that you have confidence in yourself to accomplish the task. The biggest lesson I learned from sports and from in those years of playing, and some great friends and colleagues of mine are big time former players, but certainly it comes down to the idea that you can get through adversity, and you can pick yourself up. And you know, in real estate, anybody that's getting into the business or struggling or is at a crossroads, you know, you're gonna come across some adversity. So it's how you handle that and deal with that really sets us apart, I would say. And it doesn't have to be the athletic sports component, it's the training from whatever you did prior.
That's right.
So use whatever you can to just convince yourself that you're going to be a success. But that leads to work ethic, right? And I think the biggest missing component for any new agent or anybody trying to take it from 50 to 100 million, or individual to a team, or whatever it may be, is you almost forget sometimes it takes more work than you think. And so are you willing to commit that work? And you know, it's not a coincidence that 10% of the 1.2 licensed realtors in the nation, that only 10% of them, 10% make 90% of the money.
I would almost venture to say it's probably 95.5.
Really could be. Really could be. But that doesn't mean there's not room, because there's drop off at the top too. So it's, are you willing to put the work in?
Yeah, it's funny, man. Work ethic, raving fans, commitment.
Sure.
I mean, this is stuff that we talk to all our agents about, or talk to my son. Mindset is a huge one. If he misses a goal or didn't take that shot, or he got burned on a goal, mindset's a big deal. Can you bounce back?
Sure.
Right? All right. So, a couple more questions. Talk to me about. You have it, and I totally have bounced off around on these, so I apologize.
Go ahead.
But I want to stay along that whole teams and having Anna as your assistant, who's a rock star, absolutely. You have actually decided to not go team.
Right.
When everybody talks about team right now.
Right.
And we have some very successful teams. But you decided to not go team.
Right.
Why?
So, in my former role, working for that sales distribution company, I had a team. I had a team of about 15 people. And it was middle management. You were putting out fires. You were training. You were being somewhat reactive to certain situations. And a lot of it was out of my control. So when I got into real estate and had some success, and I did come to a crossroads, hey, do I go to a team or do I get an assistant and just push my own business? It was pretty clear to me that there's only so many hours in the day, Alex. There's only so many deals per year you can do. It doesn't matter the price, right? It can be 100,000, it could be 100 million. You can only sell so many houses per year as an individual. To take it to the next level for me would require investment in time in another agent, coaching, training, making sure I vetted them properly, and then bringing them up. And it dawned on me, if you're any good, you're going to leave. So my argument is, why would I invest, and there's nothing wrong with that, you should leave, but why would I invest time, effort, energy in that when I could be with my family, could be taking care of my own clients and securing my current position? So individually, and it's a personal choice, I think a lot of people are made for middle management. A lot of people are made for executive management, nurturing, training, and certainly when push comes to shove, we can all do anything we choose to. I just didn't want to go down that path because it would have actually been to the detriment of my core business, and I would have had less control, and ultimately the great agent I trained was probably going to leave anyway.
There you go.
So it just wasn't a good business fit for me.
Absolutely.
But certainly I can see why it is for others. And the difference is, do you want to take your business to 100 million or 150 or 200 million? And there's great teams out there. Those teams have got 10, 20, sometimes 30 people.
Sure.
That's just not where I am in my life right now.
Well, what's important is you being able to recognize that.
I agree.
Staying true to your core, which is raving fans, take care of my clients no matter what that places me, if that makes me number 1 or number 10.
Sure.
And staying true to that, not changing your work ethic. Because there is something I want to talk about that's not even on here. That's what keeps you in that position. So Lee, you and I were at lunch, and we were talking about what happens when you feel your pipeline goes down. This is important for them to hear because you do 40 to 50 million a year.
Sure.
Lee, pipeline goes down. What do you do?
Well, first of all, I have to know it's going down, okay? Because I've already looked at the spreadsheet and I can see I'm 60 days out, what's incoming, what's not coming in. But honestly, it's prospecting. It's open house. It's back to basics. It's grind, it's work ethic, it's prospecting. Whether that's knocking on doors or holding open houses. If I'm out of business, I need to get in front of people. And that doesn't matter how that is. Postcards, email, that's okay, that's great. Buying leads, that's great. But it's not what I'm best at.
That's right.
What I'm best at is being in front of people. And one could argue that that's what everybody's best at, but they're often scared of being in front of people. Zillow is a great lead generation mechanism.
Sure.
I would never pay $1 for one lead from Zillow. Never have, never will. Because I feel like, and this is a personal thing, I've had this a debate, right?
That's the beauty of this show.
I feel like if your lazy ass isn't going to make the call, why are you going to buy it? It makes no sense. Makes no sense. I can qualify a lead in a 2, 3, 4 minute phone call more effectively than buying a lead and trying to farm it that way. But Zillow has a multi-million-dollar business selling leads.
Well, yeah, but don't get me started on that. You know why they have this business.
There are listings.
Well, yes, true, but I'm going to get chastised for this. But everybody wants to blame Zillow. But the reality is, if you look at the people that have, the conversations I have with realtors that have bought leads, when you ask them, out of every 10 leads, and this is across the country, California, New York, Colorado, Florida, whatever, Texas, how many of those leads have already worked with a local realtor in the marketplace?
Sure.
80 to 90%.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
The difference is you don't have to buy the leads because your clients do not become leads for other people. Right? And then some agents do buy it because, like, I think of teams that we have that pay for the leads.
Teams, it works.
But but here's the thing, though. The caveat is they pay for the lead, but once it becomes their lead, that lead will never become another agent's lead because they stay on it.
Keep it, farm it.
They keep it, farm it, keep it in-house.
Incubate it. Yeah.
That's right. And educate them about how not to become a lead to somebody else.
Understood.
Very smart. And I know you and I, one day him and I are going to have an episode, nothing to do about this, just about business, because we've had some deep conversations.
Sure,
I'd love to do that. All right, last two questions. You have a vast, entrepreneurial background, right? And you've kind of touched upon it already. What's some of the top business lessons you've learned, having been in sales and in business for so long?
So, yeah, I think the three key elements for me are, obviously integrity. Okay, you have to have integrity.
Right.
You're dealing with somebody's potentially most important asset. Okay, again, it doesn't matter how big that asset is; it's the world to them. So having integrity, of course, with your clients, with your colleagues too in the industry. There's some great agents I love to collaborate with and do deals with, and there's some agents that I just really, really have to just still do business with them, even though they drive me crazy. But integrity is really, really important. Do what you say you're going to do and deliver on that. Work ethic is probably the most underrated lesson I've learned. You can outwork the competition. You have to outwork the competition. And then, of course, the third thing I'd say, the lesson I've learned is presence. And what I mean by that is you have to have a presence in the market you want to work, okay? I can sell real estate. I'm licensed to sell real estate in the entire state of Texas. But I'm not going to go to Austin and try and sell real estate. I can sell it in North Dallas, East, anywhere in Dallas. But my presence is in East Dallas. So what I mean by that is I am present at my church, my kids' schools, 3 different schools.
That's right.
Kids' activities, football, volleyball, dance, cheerleading, present with the local community, YMCA, even some of the other public schools too. So the idea of being present or having a presence is probably also underrated in my mind. And I'm a big believer in keeping it local. Now, you can't do that at the beginning. When I first got in the industry, I would just, I'd go where the client needed me to go.
Sure.
That's how you learn your trade, right? Fort Worth, I might sell a house.
Yeah.
Plano, I might sell a house. Then after a while, you kind of hold it back into where you want to be and where you feel like your presence is going to be most notable. And the best thing about that, Alex, is it's also the most cost-effective.
Oh, you're cost-effective and mental effective, because if you're driving all over the Metroplex and you find yourself in Plano one day, or myself this morning, I was in Frisco before I got here. Now, I enjoy that, but if I was actively selling real estate, my days, half the days in the car, right? So you're preaching to the choir, man.
Gotcha.
This is what we're talking to our agents. Man, I'm having a lot of fun with this one. Last question.
Sure.
Book, podcast, or TED Talk recommendation for the audience?
TikTok?
TikTok?
You said TikTok?
No. TED
Okay.
Talk.
Okay. Wow.
I don't know how to use TikTok.
I've seen it. Trust me. Let's see here. 2 books.
Sure.
All realtors must read The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. Must read that. It is it's a visualizer. You can just visualize success.
Power of manifestation.
Absolutely. Power of manifestation. You can visualize it. It's believable. It's all, you have to read it a couple of times, though. I think if you read it a few times, you
just gave me goosebumps, man.
Pick up new things from that, for sure. And then from an entrepreneurial perspective, certainly if you're considering building a team, I would highly recommend 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel. He wrote it, I think, in 2014, 2015. He's the founder of PayPal and Palantir, which is about to be a huge company, a friend of Elon Musk and the rest of it. But that book really shares some, or puts some light on the idea that if you really want to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to think outside the box. You have to change the norm of what everybody thinks is acceptable or is just normal, right? You have to create.
That's right.
So the idea that we are creators in real estate. We're creating experience, right? All residential real estate is emotional. So we try and create an experience for our clients, but certainly the visualization of success from Rhonda Byrne is something that keeps me going as well. So they're 2 great books I'd recommend. The Secret, I think, is very powerful. The audio version, I did the audio, listened to it a few times, and it's got some kooky music in it, right? I actually have 25 manifestations that I repeat to myself every day. Is that right?
When I wake up and when I go to bed,
Sure.
I do it in my head. I have 11 personal, I have 8 personal professional, and I have 6 professional. And quite frankly, I think one of the reasons I have this job is because of the power of manifestation.
Good. Good for you.
So I preach it to Deidre, who's sitting behind the camera, our sales manager here in Lakewood, a freaking machine of a sales manager, one of the best in the biz. Cool. But yeah, I believe it, and gratitude exercises too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lee, I'm grateful for this, man.
Oh, you got
I'm gonna get up and turn the camera off. Any parting words for the audience?
Leads.
There you go.